So I was getting on the web to see what Subaru had going on for 2024, and I definitely like this bright red WRX sedan. So I want to see how much they're charging for these nowadays. And I see the base vehicle is $33,855 with the TR model, which means tuner ready. It's supposed to have a bunch of standard racing equipment already installed, $42,775. That's the one I want, and I want it in bright red. So I called Subaru to hook me up. And hook me up they did. Here's the paperwork. Although it's not paper right now, it's screen work on my computer. Here's a safety rating in case you're interested. Here's the price that we're all interested in. I can't believe with this fee they're charging us for all-weather floor mats. Come on, guys. They always have to add something, don't they? The total tab with shipping. Here's a list of everything you're getting for the money, very few options. I'm not going to read it off. If you want to freeze the frame to look at something in particular interests you, go ahead. I'm trying to keep this video short. And here's the Clean Fuel Economy. We'll talk about this a little bit later. So here it is in bright red, just like in the photos we saw. Very nice looking machine. I'm pretty sure this hood scoop is functional. We'll take a peek underneath in a minute to make sure. Side view, rear view. And these quad exhausts let you know there's something special under the hood. And they shipped it from the land of Lincoln just for us. One of the first things we do when we get a vehicle is check and see what brand of tires they're issuing, because a lot of car companies are putting garbage on to save money, but these are Bridgestone performance tires, and no complaint here, 19 inches. We also look in the trunk, see if there's a spare tire. For the prices they're charging, you think there would be. Nope, just a cheesy tire repair kit. The owner's manual I put back here to get some room in the glove box. We'll look at in a minute. And we also check headlights out in the dark and see how they perform and do a night drive. We already posted that video on YouTube. We'll have a link for that at the end of this video. And it looks suspiciously an awful lot like the Corolla Cross headlight I had the other day. I know Subaru and Toyota share some parts every now and then. If that's true, I'm not too happy about that, but I'll explain that in the night video. We're doing daytime test right now. So let's look under the hood, and one thing about the Subaru Boxer engines, they have this cooling system. Not a radiator, it goes, I think it's the turbo cooler, oil cooler, whatever. It lays flat with everything facing up, so all the garbage falls inside. Cleaning it out is a bitch. And doing it without damaging anything is a bitch, because it's very, very fragile. See, you've already got some bent stuff here. And this is a brand new car. You got to be very, very careful cleaning this. And frankly, I haven't found a correct way to do it yet. That's something I have to look up on the internet elsewhere. Does a good job of cooling, but cleaning, thumbs down. So we have is a 2.4 liter turbo, putting 271 horsepower. Torque output is 258 pounds-feet at 2,000 RPM. Hooked to a 6-speed manual transmission and all-wheel drive. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Fuel economy is rate 19 in the city, 26 on the highway, 22 average. I already took this out on the freeway and got 26 to 27 mpg at 75 plus miles per hour. In the city traffic, yeah, you can get 19 if you take it easy, but I was driving it kind of hard the other day, and after resetting the computer, I was getting only 16 mpg. Hey, you use it, right? And we compare it to the competition, the Toyota GR Corolla, 300 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 4.9 seconds. The Civic Type R, 315 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds. The VW Type R, 328 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds. This one does it around 5.5 to 5.9 seconds. A wee bit slower. There's a couple of reasons for that. And let's start with the transmission. In the old days, if you want performance, you dump the automatic, got a manual transmission. Nowadays, if you want performance, you dump the manual, get the automatic transmissions because they're a bit quicker. In the WRX here, the automatic transmission is about a half a second quicker at 0 to 60 miles per hour. And part of the reason is you have rather long throws on this. Wasn't really designed for drag racing. And you have to shift twice. 35 miles per hour to get out of first and second, and then 58 miles per hour to get into third. That slows you down a bit. But most buyers want a manual transmission over an automatic, especially since the automatic in the Subaru is a CVT, even though it's advertised as an 8-speed. So this is probably a wise decision to put the manual in this vehicle. Also, this has all-wheel drive, as all Subarus do. It eats up some of the horsepower by the time it goes to the rear wheels. On the other hand, it eliminates wheel spin, so it's kind of a trade-off. Since we're sitting in the car, there's some things I like. Even though the old-fashioned manual emergency brake takes up a lot of room and kind of awkward, it's still better than any electronic parking brake. I will take this any day of the week. Electronic parking brakes suck. They're all garbage. I wish I'd get rid of them all, but that's what they're putting on vehicles nowadays, and it's what we're stuck with most of the time, but not here. Thank you, Subaru, for getting it right. The glove box has plenty of room, but only because I took out that giant owner's manual book and jabbed it in the back. You might want to do the same. Very nice old-fashioned gauge cluster, and I see after resetting the computer I'm getting 17.1 MX commuting. Not the most impressive number, but that's the way it is with these 4-cylinder hot rods with turbos. I forgot to mention this when we were looking at the price sheet. This vehicle is made in Japan, 100% Japanese parts, Japanese labor, Japanese factory. And that would explain the high quality. Most Japanese brands aren't made in Japan anymore, and the lack of quality shows on those brands. Not a problem here. There's two things I don't like about this vehicle. Number one, there's nowhere to rest my right arm. This console's too low, as is the lid for the storage. It's really a problem for me because I don't drive two-handed. I drive one-handed with my hand here, whether I'm on the street or the racetrack. Works for me, maybe not you, but I prefer something to rest my right arm on, and I don't have it here. Although I guess most of the time I'll be grabbing onto this stick. There's one system I do not like. You're looking at it here, all the reflection you get off the infotainment system, which seems to be a problem on all of them nowadays. I won't bitch too much about that, but it's the programming for the radio stations, which simply sucks. On most radio systems, you have the channels, you press the button for favorite, you get your favorite, you press the button, you lose a favorite. Very simple, not here. Here we have the For You, which isn't for me, it's for the person who had this before me, who programmed all these garbage radio stations like CNN, MSNBC, National Public Radio, garbage I wouldn't listen to if you paid me. I cannot get this off. I've tried and tried and tried, can't get them to go away. That's the bad news. The good news is I did manage to program some other favorites, like so. The problem is you press one of your favorites, the whole menu disappears and you have this other junk popping up. And you go back to your favorites, you have to go through a whole menu of this, and go back to this, and wait. Every time you want to change a station, which is just totally stupid. I don't like this system at all. It's totally retarded. It's even worse than some of the German cars I've had to program lately. They need to update this with a better system. Although if you're going to buy the car, keep it 3 years, I'm sure you can figure everything out and be a lot easier, but if you only have a week like me, it's no fun. Also, having the climate controls in the infotainment system is not a good idea, because if something happens to the system, you lose your air conditioning or heater, but once you pull it up, it is pretty easy to use, so no point complaining about this too much. I showed you all the equipment on the price sheet earlier in case it went too fast for you. On the TR package, or Tuner Ready as it's called, you get more items than you do off the basic $33,000 WRX, which uses the same engine. You get 19-inch performance wheels, larger brakes, 6 pistons on the front. Your performance tires, beefed up shocks, stiffer suspension, a faster steering ratio, the fancy Recaro seats, So bottom line, the TR package has around 8 grand to the tab over the standard WRX. Is it worth it? Well, if you want to do all this stuff yourself, I don't think you could add this stuff any cheaper. Better just do it factory, get it done right, and have something that adds to the resale value versus doing it yourself, which will kill the resale value. Alright, enough show and tell. Let's do some driving. And definitely the steering ratio is a lot quicker on this vehicle here, so you need to pay attention to what you're doing if you want to stay in your own lane. The turning radius on all-wheel drive cars isn't that good, but on here it's pretty tight. I feel the tire scrubbing. You can't get much tighter than that. Like I said earlier, the shift stick has longer throws than I would like for drag racing, but for daily commuting it's pretty smooth and pretty light, as is the clutch. Really no complaints. The ride is a bit on the stiff side and noisy. That's the bad news. The good news is the shocks do a good job absorbing all the vibrations so they don't reach you in the passenger compartment, and that's really what counts. So you do get a bunch of bouncing around on rough pavement. It's no big deal. It's not uncomfortable, and that's what I'm looking for long distance cruising. It does get a bit noisy at times though. Last time I took a highway trip with this car, I got 26 mpg, but it was hot. I was doing a lot of passing, driving kind of hard. Here it's a nice quiet night. Set the cruise control on, light traffic, around 80 degrees instead of 115 degrees. So it's cooler, and let's rack up 120 miles and see what happens. Alright, let's look at the numbers. We put 114 miles on. Cruising at just, well, at least 75 miles per hour, let's put it that way. And 32.5 mpg, better than that 26-27 I was getting before. And I was using regular gas. I didn't have any premium where I went. That's even more impressive. I'm going to take this out to the mountains, take some tight curves, and see how the suspension performs, and the engine as well. One of the advantages of having a turbocharger on a small engine, you get lots of torque. Maximum torque here at 2,000 RPM. Works pretty good for climbing steep grades. Not being strained at all. While the 6-speed manual transmission isn't that great for drag racing because of the long throws, it's very smooth to operate on a road like this. No issues at all. At this particular moment, I have the transmission in 4th gear. I really don't need to downshift because we're pulling around 3,000 RPM, way over the torque curve. Lots and lots of power. And this performance suspension with the performance tires and performance shocks and performance steering and all-wheel drive provide a very good car for cornering ability. I guess this is what we call a sports sedan. I drive a lot of fancy German cars on this road, Mercedes, Audi, BMW, and this little Subaru is doing about as good as they do. Very impressive. It's been my observation, most people who buy these Subaru WRX turbos race them on the street. They're really better driving on a road like this with tight corners and that turbo spitting out all that torque. And a manual transmission works just fine on a road like this. The cornering ability of this vehicle is fantastic, and the brakes stop absolutely perfect with perfect pedal feel and no fade. Yep, this is the type of road this vehicle belongs on. I've been running downhill for some time, running these brakes hard and not hitting a fade, no overheating. But that's what you're paying for with the TR package, right? So I wouldn't expect any less. Bottom line, on roads like this is a very fun car to drive. Very impressive. That was a nice little drive. Time to wrap up this video, head back to town. By the way, this is a very smooth vehicle on highway speeds, like so. Bit of bouncing around because of the stiff suspension, but no big deal. Still comfortable. Great for long trips. Nice brakes too, by the way. Before I wrap up this video, there is another complaint I have. We're looking at it right here, the width of the rocker panel area. This area here picks up all kinds of debris from the outside, mud, sand, dirt, whatever. And as wide as it is, this is going to get all over your pants if it's dirty. Oh, look at that. You wear white jeans, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Especially for females that wear pantsuits. So you might want to keep some rags and cleaner handy. Wipe this down quite a bit. So what's my take on this Subaru after a week of driving? Well, I think the $33,000 base model is more than adequate if you're not going to race it. But if you are, the TR package, as expensive as it is probably worth it. The 40 grand plus price tag is about the same as other hot rods in this price class. And, as I've said before, if you find a Japanese car made in Japan, don't argue with the price. It sure is high quality. And you can't beat that. That concludes the road test. If you want to see the headlight test and night drive, here's a link coming up. You might as well watch it. You're already here.